Mr. Walton, did you make contact with aliens? Were you taken to another planet, to a mothership? How did they communicate with... Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me how many of them there were? Were you given food?
But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden. As a part of a family and explorers of consciousness. I'm the void one.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Broadcasting from New York, upstate, near the Great Lakes, it's Lighting the Void, and I'm your host, Joe Roop. We are live on the Fringe FM, KTLK, digital broadcasting. That is the network is at fringe.fm. Our website is lightingthevoid.com. It is Thursday, the 4th on into the 5th. It's midnight here on the East Coast. And welcome all to the program. This is a live broadcast, and everything is live, happening right now as I speak, actually. And if you want to call into the show, that call-in number is 1-800-588-0335, or you can call the direct call-in number at 501-300-0292 if you want to call into the direct line. So that 1-800 number is actually toll-free from the United States or Canada, and I believe, I want to believe other English-speaking countries too. I don't know. Call in and we can find out. I have no idea. If you want to join our chat room, though, you can go to thefringe.fm/chat room, and you can join our Discord server. Tonight, Mathew Mournian will be back with us here. He's here on standby. And if you want to go to the website for reference, that website is rememberyourmission.com. And this is something that we discuss quite frequently here is, how do you discover what your purpose is, your soul mission? We all think we know what our purpose is, right? What we're here to do, and we base it on what we like and all kinds of stuff. And so we're trying to figure out why we're here, what we're here to do, what's life all about, the big questions, right? But how do you know what your soul mission is? And Mathew Mournian's here. He's going to help us. Now, Aaron Mournian is a multidimensional energy healer and a psychic reader specializing in clearing, balancing, and removal of negative energetic manifestations from the body. His current mission is to assist with the activation of the expanding multidimensional intuitive healing abilities that exist inside all of us. Now, at this stage of our collective evolution, his primary focus is on clearing the negative energy in our lives that block us from truly knowing ourselves and realizing our life's purpose. Whether it be through intuitive consultation, energy clearing, or implant removal, It is his mission to assist with the liberation of mankind during this time of great awakening and expansion of human consciousness. And this is the second time he's been on the broadcast. It's good to have you back, Mathew. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you for inviting me here. I mean that very, very sincerely, Joe. It is an honor.
Yeah, you're very welcome, sir. And how have you been since the last time we talked? How's things been going?
Lord. Yeah. Let me see. I guess that was in, I think, summer of 2020, as I recall. And my Lord, I think all of us have been through multiple timelines, multiple versions of ourselves. We crossed a massive gateway in December of 2020. And so everyone's kind of adjusting to a whole new, I'll just say it, we're going to get weird from the gate, a whole new version of reality right now. And so for me, it's been an incredibly transformational period, but also just incredibly raw, right? Like everybody's feeling the world right now. And it's a trip, man. But yeah, life is good. Thank you.
Yeah. So before the show started, you're like, man, I'm happy to be alive. There's no better time than to be alive than right now. And I was thinking, most people don't, not everybody looks at it like that. There's a lot of complaining going on out there for good reason. I mean, you heard the news, right? The old anal swabs going on the East Coast and everything for the COVID happening, right? Like, it's not the best time to be alive for some people, but I think I understand why you're saying that, but I'll let you explain it, why it's a great time to be alive right now.
Well, first off, it is probably the period with the greatest catalyst for true growth that we are ever going to experience in our lifetime, meaning that we have more opportunities right now to truly transform ourselves, to transform the world. And all of the chaos in the world right now, you guys, and I know not everyone subscribes to this idea, but in my heart, what I've seen time and time again is we chose this time. Each and every person alive right now, and especially those strange beings out there that are hearing my voice in this moment, we chose to incarnate in this period on Earth for these very events. Now, it's not that we knew exactly what it was we were going to do when we come in here. That's literally the great mystery of coming down and doing this Earth game. But to me, these times that we are in right now represent the greatest opportunity to expand our consciousness, to liberate this planet, which I know is always such a weighty term, right? Everyone's like, oh Lord, here we go. But truly, we are watching it happen on a day-by-day basis. And yes, the news is incredible right now, right? It's frightening. We're literally being influenced by this ancient artificially intelligent AI that's worked its way through the dark underbelly of world governments. I mean, it's like we're living in a movie, right? But I mean, to me, that's the most greatest opportunity. And so, I think it's the best time to be alive.
It feels like we're kind of, like I always say, it feels like we're kind of living in the twilight zone sometimes. Actually, it depends on your situation, really. Like a lot of us are, take my case, we're just extremely kind of isolated. I'm in upstate New York in the snow, right? And there's more laws here than ever. I think you're in Los Angeles, right? So you know all about that.
We're on the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of weather. I'll tell you, it was like 65 here like the other day. And that's like a record coldness down here in LA. It's probably laughable for you guys. You guys are like, what?
Yeah, it's like 12 degrees with wind here. So yeah, I love 65-degree weather.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. Yet at the same time, I am also, I would say, equally isolated, like you in this strange way, existing in this strange, chaotically urban box world of Los Angeles. We have, I think, one of the greatest and most immediate views into it, I believe to be kind of, the so-called, hidden enemy or the invisible enemy that was referred to in, many, recent this and that we've seen on, on the news and in social media. And it is a mind virus that I believe we are watching kind of play itself out through the minds and the behaviors and the motivations. And so, yeah, I'm kind of equally isolated in my own little world. It's a strange thing.
So if what a lot of people talk to me about is like, what a lot of people are trying to figure out, like, man, who's the enemy? And when I see this, because you hear a lot of I don't even want to say conspiracy people, like truthers saying, man, I don't know about this COVID thing. They're talking about Bill Gates. They're talking about all these. It's almost like they're looking for the monster that's responsible. And by looking for the monster that's responsible, they're starting to see some actual monstrous things or pretty unscrupulous things, I would say, at the very least, that go on in all of the systems that we have here in the United States, as well as technology, government, the pharmaceutical industry, the food industry. So this has also caused a lot of people to take deep dives into all these systems and see the corruption and see what it is, what it really is, plus the psychological games that are going on as well. And I think that people are still looking for the actual source of it. And I always ask myself, is it really just greedy people, or is there some type of maybe existential or metaphysical enemy or force at play here that's doing its thing? I wonder what your thoughts are on that.
That's a very good question. Not to oversimplify it, and I don't know, for people that know me, they'll know I might have a tendency to oversimplify certain things, but I believe that we come here for this experience. We come here into this earth realm with the understanding that we are going to experience the duality game, equal parts light and dark. And what I've noticed, I think this is equal part my journey as everyone else's, is like here in the earth body, we have a tendency to externalize that darkness as something that is outside of us, that is not a part of us, something that must be eradicated or otherwise removed. And I think that's part of the game of why we come here, to go through that experience. And so, you know, I mean, I don't know if that makes sense. That might be a gross oversimplification, but we are also in what I call the age of the unveiling of hidden knowledge. And so along with the understanding that we're going to experience this great duality, this, you know, this realization of the self, we are also going to be privy to the lifetime for many of us in which a lot of the themes and the cyclical experiences that we've encountered incarnation after incarnation become finally revealed. And that's why a lot of us right now are calling this, you know, like the quote unquote ascension, which is a lovely buzzword, or the dimensional shift, which is a wonderful one as well, also literally true, or the quote unquote great awakening, whichever one you want to call it. I and, you know, granted, oversimplification once again, but I believe this is kind of why we come here. So
yeah,
at least that's how I see it.
Yes. So then I guess I get focused on this savior perpetrator mentality that I've noticed that we as humans, and even myself, I've had it a lot of times. You know, we either put ourselves in the hero seat or the victim seat, but especially when we're in like the victim seat, we look and say, who's the perpetrator? Who's to blame for this? And who's going to save us? Right. But I think maybe you're right. I think this day and age and what's happening to us now, especially with the isolation that's happening with all of us at this point, has caused us to really take some deep dives into this introspective journey, don't you think?
Oh, totally. I think that was kind of one of, and you know, maybe in the future after this lifetime or whatever you want to call it, maybe there's going to be some great revealing and they're like, okay, guys, here's what was really going on. You thought it was COVID. Turns out we gave you this incubation period in which each and every person was going to have an opportunity to face the shadow element of themselves. Some of us will choose to externalize it through political figures or elements of darkness that we perceive to be existing in the world, and others will begin to find that within ourselves and go through processes of self-healing. And so I think that, you know, there's great variance within the spectrum of how that experience played out. But I think for me and probably you and a lot of other people, we started to take that as an opportunity to kind of create and sort of hatch up this new version of ourselves. And so, you know, and I don't know, maybe I'm already losing the whole train of where I was going with that. But, you know, once again, I would say probably the most opportunistic time that we could have chosen. And so each and every person right now is coming to a whole other version of themselves. I think that's a lot of what 2020 was designed to do. And yes, it was, you know, forecasted in various television shows and medias, the sort of events that we were creating on the timeline, which is usually how they show up. We'll look back and go, oh yeah, we had already forecasted this, boom, you know? And so, you know, that whole thing is playing out for a myriad of reasons, but, you know, once again, absolutely scheduled, absolutely supposed to happen. I remember at the beginning of 2020, like a lot of people, and this is a funny thing to say because I make my living as a professional intuitive, right? And I remember looking at it going, I have no idea what's coming after April. I kept telling people this all the time. And I was like, I don't know what's coming. I keep looking at it and I'm like, there's just this big dead spot. I don't know what that meant. So, yeah. You know, it was kind of a multi-purpose thing, if that if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, no, I get it. I mean, that's another thing too. When people ask me, "What's my soul mission, man? Why am I here?" And I always tell people, I'm like, do what makes you happy. Do what you're passionate about. Well, I'm passionate about this, this, and that, but what's my soul mission? I'm like, do all of them. Just do everything that makes you happy until you start triangulating that down. I don't think you're going to find your soul mission unless lightning comes down and strikes you with an epiphany, which does happen to people sometimes too. I mean, it kind of happened to me, but I'm still trying to like run a radio station and do a radio show, and my soul is like in both of them, and I'm not choosing one or the other. I just think we don't realize as humans we're not so simplistic. We're complex individuals that we like to explore life and humanity and consciousness, and we like to do that in all kinds of different ways.
Yeah. Well, I agree. That's usually the big question. I mean, and it's like sort of funny because, obviously that is like the name of my website. That was like a big comment as we came in here. And that's, one of the primary reasons why people will seek me out at this stage. And it's wild because I will say this at this stage, it's literally people from all over the world. And if you would have told me that, like just a few years back that, all this stuff was, like about to happen in my life, I would have surely found a way to screw it up. I am positive I would have totally flattened the whole thing. But I think that's because for many of us, there are many missions. There's many reasons why we come here. There's a whole series and a great variance of events that I believe, and, granted, this is just my version of what I've been perceiving, that we literally sign up for. We come in here knowing, okay, we're going to have X, Y, and Z and this and that. And, if we make it this far, we're going to get this chance. And, these opportunities or these timelines or these things will be available to us. And at least for me, I think the understanding is that part of our great mission here is that there is no one final mission. There is no one final purpose. We come here to experience, like a little bit of everything. Some of us come in with, obviously a lot of karma, as and we got to play out all kinds of drama. But there are many. And I think that probably once again, gross oversimplification, guys, but I think that almost with this like reliable cyclical effect, those aspects of some of our biggest missions, maybe, and that's always such a weighty term, right? Like the actual mission, but they show up over and over and over again. I think probably right now, and I might already be going on a weird tangent here, but I think right now, in generality, on the Earth plane, we are seeing such an incredible upsurge of people going, I know I'm here to blank, but I don't know how to blank. And I know I'm supposed to, blank, but I don't know, you know what I mean? All those like variables, it's not that we know what they are, but we're coming to the awareness that there's this incredible question mark. And I think that's probably where we, people like me show up as like a practitioner, people like you in your show that's like, giving out this information and like, putting people in, like some form of like a contact, with this info and these people. And then there's this whole other group of people right now that are leaving their jobs and like their careers and their marriages. Yeah. And so
how many, so that's something else too that I've noticed, like in astrology, or these big, massive changes and transitions that people are happening to, and some people are just like going for it, right, and other people are resisting it. And at the same time, I was listening to Robert Monroe. It was so synchronistic talking about this, and I think it was Far Journeys in chapter 7 or 8 where he says he was talking about how in the human conscious experience that the only thing certain is change, and that all misery, toxicity, and negativity come from a place to where either you resist change or you desire it to happen and it's not happening. So people come up to this wall of change that happens in their life, and there's one or two attitudes, like they really want it and it's not happening, or they see the change coming, they fear it and they resist it. And that, if that stays there too long, he started noticing after he explored with all these conscious beings that would cause negativity to happen. I don't know if maybe you could speak on that or understand what I'm saying at all.
It does, actually, on many levels. I think that will cause even, and this is usually where like my brain goes, because I get pretty like anatomical for some reason. That's just kind of like the niche that I'm in right now. And That absolutely happens. And what happens for a lot of people is the crown chakra will begin to close, one of the energy centers at the top of the body, responsible for allowing, spiritual guidance, for allowing people to begin to even be in contact with the concepts of spirituality and just the understanding or the acceptance of such in their life. A lot of people will, they'll begin to close off that area of the body. Additionally, underneath, down at the Earth Star chakra, underneath your feet will get closed as well. And people can get, very much trapped within their own internalized mental body, within the emotional body. They're, basically that energetic self becomes very contained and pressurized, and that's also a tremendous amount of us on the earth plane right now. People walking around town, with like masks on, really tripped out, in constant fear. A lot of us were unconscious closing those areas. So anyway, not to go in a weird direction there, but
yeah, he even said too that the cool thing is once you realize that life is flow, fluctuation, and change, that even if you fear change, or you fear that something won't change, the whole thing is just to make a decision and move forward, because he even did the math on it, like the probabilities of anything happening catastrophic, regardless if you fear change and you don't want it to happen, or you want change so bad and it's not happening. As long as you make a decision, he said there's like a 1 in 4 chance that things are going to be catastrophic, right? And you can see this with politics and things like that. Usually it gets really polar. You can really see this visually. Change is coming, right? The new president or whatever. Some people, they really don't want things to change and they're fighting for it. And everybody else wants things to change and they're fighting for it. But the decision's going to be made and progress is going to happen. But you see the toxicity that happens up to that point of change, right? It's kind of crazy.
Oh, totally. I think that what we're also seeing, not to instantly keep the weird ball rolling, but we are also seeing, for everyone that's kind of watching above this weird timeline that we are on right now, we are about to see a reversal of the last 4 years of polarization from another side of, I guess we could say like the aisle, or just just from like another viewpoint. We're going to watch the story play out all over again. And what happens is we're going to be caught in this us versus them sort of thing, which is another one of like the byproducts of shutting down aspects of the spiritual body. And so we're just going to play the duality game over and over again. But I wonder what beings it was that kind of, told him about that, out there and, like the astral realms. Because I tell you what,
you got to listen to that, man. Listen to Far Journeys. I tell everybody, everything that we do this show about, it wouldn't matter if I did 1,000 episodes. Robert Monroe brings up everything in his 3 books, right, of conscious exploration, like everything. And he was meeting beings all the time, right, from whatever dimensions, whatever realities. They were telling him all kinds of different things. But, I was going to ask you too, like when people, you mentioned earlier that you noticed that people were changing jobs, changing relationships. Like, is it really gotten as heavy as you're saying? Because I've seen it in astrology too, but like, how heavy is the change really?
Well, I think it depends on a couple predetermined factors that are going to be individual for each of us, based on whatever's coming up on your timeline, or what you are creating. Some of us are going to have these incredible transitions right now. I can tell you that a lot of the clients I'm working with, and maybe this is just like the population that I am tuned into, many people are coming to an entirely new understanding of the energetic realms, of the phenomenon of energy, whether it be as a medical treatment modality, whether it be to expanding the consciousness, whether it be toward people unpacking, new abilities in the body. And I think what happens is, for each of us, that starts to unpack a little bit of the next stage of our identity. And so in every person's life, there's, there will be these old kind of stagnated constructs that we've been clinging on to. Some of them will be contracts. Some of them, will just be little things. But I think for each of us, we're coming to a transition that, like in my case, it was huge. And, I probably said this last time I was on the show, but I was an extreme version of this. In 2017, I made a choice after, 2 years of crazy activations and all kinds of energetic insanity. I made a choice to literally walk away from my marriage, from the house that I owned, from the job that I had been in for almost 7 years at that time. I literally put my stuff on the curb, and I took only what I could fit in my car, because I knew at that stage, and I truly had no idea where I was going. I knew that I was going to go stay somewhere in LA with somebody that was going to help me learn, like energy and, like the stuff that I'm doing now. But
you were ready for change, though. If you did all that, man, you were ready, it sounds like, or something,
Or I was insane, because I was also one of those people. I had such a crazy experience in the beginning. There were moments in the early days of like 2016 where I could do nothing but do qigong and stand in my backyard and try to clear all these crazy beings that were showing up in my consciousness. And there was literally, and this is going to sound crazy to some people out there, but there were these lion beings that showed up.
Lion beings. No, that
light form beings.
Actually, that doesn't sound crazy. I mean, we got to take a break here, but I do definitely want to ask you about that because, well, we're already kind of into this, so like I have to take a break here. But yeah, we'll stop right there. We'll pick up right back on that story. We'll be right back with Mathew Mournian. Stay with us.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners, did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
Want to know what's on the Fringe FM? Check out our schedule at thefringe.fm.
Hola, Fringe listeners. This is Dave Cruz of Beyond the Strange, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
This is Malorcas 45, fan of The Fringe FM, challenging everyone to open their mind's eye. Listen to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop to gain precision for your third eye vision.
My name is Jake. I'm from Billings, Montana, and I am a void walker.
Hey, Joe Roop. Thanks for lighting the void. This is Janine in the bluegrass of Kentucky, and I am a void walker.
What's up, guys? This is Damien from San Marcos, Texas, and I'm a void walker. I listen to the show to keep myself aligned with the world.
Hi, this is Laura, aka Laura Lavender. I'm from Las Vegas, and I listen to Lighting the Void because it helps me understand some of the strangest experiences I've had. So thanks for all that you do and for always being there for us, Joe.
Hi, this is Kronox from Belgium, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
Hey, this is country music singer and void walker Jason Benoit, and when I need my fix on the world of magic and the capabilities of the human consciousness, I listen to Joe Roop right here on Lighting the Void Radio.
Born out of the alchemical tradition of Paracelsus is a medical tradition called Spagyria. Though not many people practice this work today, Phoenix Aurelius has been researching and teaching this work for the last 15 years, and he needs your support.
Hi, I'm Phoenix Aurelius, and I'm the founder of the Phoenix Aurelius Research Society, where I perform modern scientific research on the methods and techniques of Paracelsian alchemy and Spagyria for health, wellness, agriculture, ecology, and more. All my work is 100% funded by the public. So if you like what I'm doing and you want to support my research, please consider making a purchase of spagyric medicines from my apothecary, fund your own spagyric IDF wellness research, or participate in my group study or one-on-one immersion courses so that you can learn how to perform this work for yourself. I want to thank you in advance for your support.
Visit thefringe.fm/alchemy research and enter coupon code FRINGE and receive 15% off anything and everything on the website. That's thefringe.fm/alchemy research. And thank you for doing your part and keeping alchemy alive in the modern day.
What's your soul mission? That's the question. Like, why are you here? Why did you come to this earth? And why did you pick this crazy, crazy time? Mathew Mournian's here with us from RememberYourSoulMission.com. And I remember the last time you were on the show, Mathew, we didn't really get to, we talked about how to discover your soul mission and why we were here and all this stuff. But you know what? But I don't really think I got to ask you your story. And you were talking about how you kind of quit whatever you were doing. Would you jump out of a relationship and a job all at the same time, and then you started having like experiences? I want you to pick up where you left off on that, man. That was really cool.
Totally. Thank you for that. I guess I haven't said this one in a while. Yeah, I would say I am one of those individuals that was what we call possibly a adult onset extraterrestrial experiencer. I started having very strange experiences right around 2012, just like all those people on Earth. And, I was kind of tuned into strange events at that time, but I was just in a whole other stage of my life. I was working as a counselor in the mental health system in San Diego, California, working with veterans at a veterans treatment center hospital, and just doing like the all sorts of stuff there at the time. And I mean, there was this period around December of 2012 in which it literally felt like my brain and my body was ripping open. I started to get all these ideas and kind of visitations and strange dreams. And I was working in the mental health field at the time. So what does a good mental health worker do? I went on some meds. I got on some medication and I got on some meds, and it totally stopped. It suppressed it. And I kind of stabilized for a few years. And then boom, summer of 2015 occurred. And I was actually at work just at like a veterans treatment fair. And there was sort of like an energy healing tent there. And this woman was like, "Hello, would you like an energy blessing?" And I was kind of bored, honestly. I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not? I don't really want to go back to work, whatever." And she put her hands on my head, and I just felt a strange little feeling. It was a summer day, and I was like, "Okay, thanks, cool." And I went right back to work, and I felt this strange ring around my head, right? I was like, "Man, it feels like I have a hat or something." It's like there's this feeling in my head. And honestly, man, within days, so many things, weird events, strange things started to change in my life. It was as if suddenly even like the meds I was on at that time, which was just like an antidepressant, just really common stuff. It was like I had this knowing that I was like, I cannot take this. I have to. It was this weird thing occurred. And actually my body got sick. I got horribly sick. I went through this crazy multi-week flu in which I started having like beings showing up in my dreams. I started waking up in the morning with lines all over my body, which I now understand to be the meridian system. I started to have these experiences where I would, be waking up out of a dream. And yes, I'm sorry, go ahead, Riga.
Well, no, I mean, you said earlier you saw lion beings, and are you leading up to that?
Sorry, yeah.
Because this so far, man, this sounds like stigmata, if you ask me. Right?
Oh, no, totally. Yeah, anyway, I will quickly fast forward to those guys, because in all like the midst of this, the only thing I could do was like stand in my yard and do qigong. Somehow it like helped me ground my body, and I was like, surely I am losing my mind, right? Surely you're losing it. And so, yeah, this one afternoon, I looked up in the sky, and there was the face of a lion being that had been formed out of the clouds. But I don't mean like a cloud that was a lion. It was an actual lion's face, and totally sober, standing out there. And I began to receive what I now understand as a series of telepathic contacts from what some of us will perceive as extraterrestrial beings. But it's really a group that each of us can encounter in our lives, called the multidimensional higher self council, made up of a version of you that you have been on many different lifetimes. And there's a whole host of beings that each of us have existed as in, this cycle of lifetimes. And so I begin to get in contact with what I believe to be the soul family that was guiding me. One of those was a lion being that appeared very shortly. There was an experience with a very tall praying mantis being, which a lot of people talk about, seeing those. And he literally gave me the most love that I have ever felt in my entire life. I felt that they were appreciative of me, that they were proud of me. It was a bizarre experience, but it all culminated for me after all these crazy, things that seemed like waking hallucinations. And there was this one day where I was having some kind of strange contact. There was 3 beings surrounding me, and they gave me this choice. This sounds so crazy to some people. Sounds like a freaking movie, right? And they gave me this choice to literally change my life. They said, Mathew, you have a mission. It is time to remember.
Time to remember.
Absolutely. And for some reason, I went down on my knees and I was crying, and, I was like, yes, I'll do it. And then snap, 2 seconds later, my wife at the time comes outside. She's like, hey, so what do you want for dinner? And poof, it was all gone, everything. And I was like, I'm sitting there in tears in my backyard on my knees. I was just like, okay, I knew something was going to change. Something shifted in that moment, and it literally sounds like a movie, but
it does actually, but it sounds like a really cool movie. I want to keep going on with this story too, but let's go to the phones real quick. We have someone on line one here. See, 717 area code. You're on the air with Mathew Mournian. Who are we speaking with?
Oh, wow. This is so great. It's TL. Thanks for taking the call. It's kind of unexpected. I went looking for Mathew on his Facebook page and saw he was going to be on the show, so I dialed. So this is great. Hi, guys.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. So I was looking for Mathew to see if he actually still does the entity clearing work.
Oh yes, absolutely. And thank you for calling in, by the way. I certainly appreciate that. You noticed this on Facebook. I certainly appreciate it. Yeah, actually that is, I would say, one of the foundations of the energy work that I do. And I also say that very delicately and lovingly, because I will tell you, you guys, one person's entity is another person's childhood trauma. One person's reptilian implant is another person's, past life trauma, et cetera, et cetera. They're very interchangeable, but absolutely.
We got to talk about that.
Wait,
too.
Say that. How clarify that for me, because it's pertaining to my daughter, and it seems that her entity is been a trauma for the rest of us, and it's ongoing. Right. So can you just qualify what you said and explain it a little more?
So in each case, and I will start out by saying, there are many cases in which we will encounter a verifiable astral entity, whether it be a parasite or a sentient consciousness. In some cases, yes, it can even be what some people call like a ET or like a reptilian. There's many different ways in which shadowic elements will sort of show up in our life. But, I would say in most cases, yes, it will culminate around traumas that can occur in early childhood, and not everyone will have certain traumas. It can be traumas that will occur in past lives. In some cases, and this also sounds kind of funny, but it's very much like when you go fishing, you really don't know what you're going to catch. And some people, they will show up on the line of some sort of, dimensional entity that can wreak havoc in our lives. But I would say in most cases, the people that I encounter that will come to me with, whether it be entity attachment or implantation, they're usually dealing with a very serious case of blocked emotional energy in the body that for some of us will actually will actually become that entity, meaning that the human body gives off kind of like what I call a bait signal. Yeah. And when emotions are catalyzed to a high enough point, it will literally manifest into something real. A very extreme version of that we see is like a poltergeist.
Let's see. Well, what happened? What did you say your name was again, ma'am? I'm sorry.
It's TL.
TL. Okay.
Like the initials. TL.
What happened with your daughter? Can you tell us what happened?
Well, so that's been pretty much what we've witnessed. It's now taken over her, and she actually it's manifested through addiction because it got so bad. It used to be just anxiety, not just, but really severe anxiety, night terrors, and it went on for several years, starting from her teenage years, but manifested. She recalled a trauma that happened with a babysitter when she was 7 at that time. So anyway, it's blown up. She just turned 30, and so she now has a brain mass. And literally talking to her, it actually speaks. It's really bad. It's really. If I wasn't so in alignment and have my own experiences, not of this octave, I'm a grid worker and I usually work on higher octave. But if I didn't live in this realm, in this world, if this wasn't my reality and multidimensionality, I would not believe it. And it's still really difficult for me to manage. But my question actually is, can we in these physical bodies actually clear these things, or is it that soul's at that soul's discretion as to whether they want to? And suppose the entity has taken over so much of the essence while it's in the physical body, is it reachable?
There you go, Mathew.
That's a very good question. Once again, I'm an oversimplifier. I do believe that there is nothing that occurs on the earth plane that cannot be healed, reversed, or otherwise changed or improved, especially when it comes to spiritual or energetic maladies. Now, the question is the choices or the alignments or the changes that will have to be made for each person in some cases can be massive. And as a person who has also experienced extreme addiction in this lifetime, it is truly one of the greatest gateways toward negative energy, whether it be trauma energy or what are literally actual beings that will, inhabit, the body of that individual that in most cases are, they're kind of like a parasite, kind of like a flea, but in some cases there is a sentient being that will speak to that person. It's a very sad thing. It's a very difficult thing. In some cases. Yeah.
Well, I want to mention too, we had Tom Zissner on the program, who's a psychologist, but also, he had some experiences with this where he would take clients under in hypnosis, and he started realizing that people, even children especially, would have trauma at certain times in their life, and when he would take them under, he would get to that point, back to that event of that trauma. And instead of the child speaking about it or the client speaking about it, an entity or a personality would come through and stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That is a very, very real thing. I have spoken with clients that have had that exact issue. There was one case, and honestly, there was one case only, where we were actually able to, create a gateway in the body in which that person did not experience that sort of a manifestation. But I also have to be a brutal realist and say that that is one of the greatest challenges for, people, especially when they're in an active state of addiction. I would say probably the primary barrier toward getting rid of that, energy is going to be that you'll have to get that person sober. In many cases, though, here's the crazy thing, and I truly hold out hope, my honest prayers, that you will have this experience. If you can get people sober long enough and stabilize their consciousness, in some cases, it will literally leave on its own. And it's a very strange thing. Yeah. People might even have to be incarcerated or hospitalized, but it is possible. And yet I have to also say this really quickly. As a person that does this literally every day almost, most cases are not real entities. It sounds like in your case, you're dealing with something very real, but what we have seen in cases when it is a true, real, sentient manifestation, no one will be able to release it other than that person themselves.
That person. That's what I keep being told by my higher team.
So
is that it's up to her. I mean,
so not even a priest, not any type of healer, priest, nothing can do. It has to be done by that person and that person alone.
You know what? There are always exceptions. If there's one thing I've learned, like doing this strange work the past few years, as soon as you say always, like, I swear to God, like the universe will roll in and be like, oh, really? And so there are truly always an exception. And miracles will happen. I don't really know like the protocols that like priests use and stuff. I honestly was kind of bizarrely self-taught in a very strange way. And so there's probably a million methods. I truly do know that there is hope for your daughter. I think the key will be to, get her sober if that's possible. It's always the hardest part though, right?
Well, that's the thing. That's when the entity presents. It literally talks through her. It really does. Like, and it's when you try to do that. So that's the block. The block is not to get her, because I know that if I can get her clear enough, because I mean, I even cured her brain mass back in 2016, and it was gone for 4 years, and it came back, but it seems to have come back with a roar the past year and a half. Anyway, this is so deeply appreciated, me connecting with you. I hold out hope as well. And offline, if you're willing to, tap in and, I'll do a session, pay for a session for you to tap in and just see if there's any opening that you might be able to negotiate.
It is certainly possible. But let me just say this, though. I have to be very, very real. Unless that person themselves desires the healing, it just doesn't. It might not necessarily work. We could definitely look at the timeline and we could look and gain info usually about what's going on. But unless that person is willing to receive healing, there's a very interesting barrier that occurs. But please do feel free to email me at rememberyourmission.com. You can do like a little contact thing there. And that's usually the best way to go.
Also, I'd like to say too, like if that ends up happening, Mathew, and she gets a hold of you, and something comes out of that, and you actually do a healing or whatever, let me know, because I'd like to follow up on, at least tell my audience, because that's a really, really a special thing, actually. And I got one question for you, TL, because we're coming to the top of the hour here with Mathew. That when you said that it speaks, does it speak in a different voice, or does it simply speak in a hateful manner?
No, it's a different voice, and it's really it's like almost like there's a party in her head, and the different voices speak out, but the one that I know I can feel that is the one that's got hold of her, is the one. The voice is deep. It's just, you would not believe it. I've actually recorded it. It's incredible, and it's obvious. But here's the thing: like right now, we're in such a spiritual war, and things are intensifying. And for those who are sensitive enough to be able to see through so many veils, you can see it. And even when you can't see it, it's palpable, right? So, even on this mass plane, people can see this world is not the same. But what's going on behind the veils is just beyond what the mind can even get their head, it can manage to comprehend. My issue is I have that ability to see and know, but I also am in between it, meaning it's happening connected to me to keep me from my work and my mission, but it's also, her soul's journey. So
right.
Everything's huge right now. So if I could get the assistance, and if we could all, for you having us back, when this does take place, that would be wonderful too, because there are many really brilliant star seeds, light workers, and beautiful souls on this planet that are being pummeled right now. And this is one of the ways that's happening.
Well, yeah, thank you. And and all the best, and hope for healing and prayers for you too. And thank you for being brave and doing what you're doing. Thank you for calling in.
Okay. Be well, everyone.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Pretty intense stuff there, Mathew. Is that the kind of stuff that you deal with like that?
It's pretty rare that we have sentient beings. It's happened a few times. I will, on I would say maybe all on, less than 2 hands, maybe 7. One of them I know absolutely departed, but, a lot of people, we don't really hear from them again. And so, we just kind of pray that things are going well. But yeah, it's very real.
It's it's interesting that you said you were talking about addiction and things too, because again, I would state there's a reason why I read or listen to Robert Monroe's trilogy every year. He saw these types of beings in the astral realm. Several different addictions that people's soul bodies or astral bodies were addicted to that had problems passing through because they were addicted to certain things, whether it was alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, sex, you name it, and even parasitic beings that he would see in these realms that other people have seen too. So I don't know what the realms are made of. I don't know if that's coming through the filter of the mind. I have a lot of questions, but what I do know is the patterns I see, that there is definitely some kind of metaphysical thing there that tries to keep people from discovering who they are and also even passing through when they need to.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely real. We even have all sorts of strange pre-installed apparatuses within the physical body, or rather the non-physical body, designed to block those very spiritual forces. It's an absolutely real thing.
So as you went on this journey, right, you'd be doing something where you left off before we took the phone call. You said that your wife would say it's time for dinner, and then you would lose everything, right? Or you would lose your train of thought there. Did it just pick up? Did you have beings speak to you, or did they stop speaking to you once you started doing this work, or how's that been going?
There was a batch of contacts that occurred right in 2016, and at the end, all the way until the end of 2017, almost like a bunch of files had been stored up for me in a very, very strange way. And it was like these strange knowings, and it would lead to people that showed up and all kinds of wild stuff. But nowadays, no, it is definitely different. I think that there are frequencies and forms of contact that are happening with, ETs that are much different than them showing up in our faces and taking us on crafts. And so I think that it is a standard part of my experience here that I'm in contact with those beings, but I would say in much different ways than it was in the beginning. I would say it's also changed for a lot of us here on the Earth plane. But yeah, they're definitely still with us. So.
Well, the phone lines are still open if you guys want to call in and ask Mathew any questions. We're still going to go down this road here of what's your soul mission, what's your purpose, why are you here? And that's a really important question, because Mathew believes that a lot of us were called to this time, this very time that we're here right now, for a reason, and that we need to discover that reason. Remember, yourmission.com is his website. 1-800-588-0335 is the calling number. This is Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Roop on The Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Root.
Hey, this is Fee, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I'll guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Root in the show, and heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new Art Bell. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, aka the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Root.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
Have you heard of heavy metals? Yeah! I'm not talking about the heavy metals in the junkyard. I'm talking about the heavy metals that build up in your body. Heavy metals in your body can make you feel sluggish, fatigued, and just plain off. Why not try Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com? Cleansing your body and making you feel great. Cleansing the inside of your body of intruders that sneak their way into you and set up an intruder camp. Life Change Tea helps remove unwanted intruder camps. Brew it, steep it, and drink in the results. Tastes great, so you can create a new health habit. Our tea loves to help people. It just needs the chance. So order yours today by logging on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Our Life Change Super Strength Tea is waiting. This could be a beautiful relationship. Take charge of your health. Order at GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you are interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
listening to Joe Roop and Lighting the Void here on The Fringe FM.
Mathew Mournian is our guest tonight on the program. If you want to join our chat room, you can go to thefringe.fm/chat room to join the Discord server. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you want to support the show, please go to lightingthevoid.com, sign up to our Patreon, or make a donation or grab something from the store. And we appreciate your support. Mathew, a lot of guests have come on the show, and we've talked about these metaphysical realms. And they've all been expressed as different things, whether it's entities, ETs, even borderline personality. I personally believe, like I said before, that there's something there that kind of tries to keep us from discovering who we really are. The thing is you mentioned this earlier, that if a person doesn't want to heal, that there's a really high chance that nothing's going to heal it anyways. Do you help a person? Like, is that one of the first questions you ask people when they come to you? Like, or you try to figure out, do they really want to heal?
That's a great question. Most of the people that usually book with me have already come to some stage in which they're like, I'm going to try this thing. Somehow they stumble upon, like my site or whatever. Usually by the time they get to me, they're willing to create a layer of change. And it's usually the individual. I have had a number of clients over the past couple of years that have did sessions for, like their loved one or, like their wives or, just whoever it was that was going through an issue. And, in some cases, it's been awesome. There's been a couple people where they didn't even know they were getting that type of a session. It was very awkward. And, we had a really positive experience. But what I've noticed is that people that have a true manifestation, unless they're actually seeking, unless they're truly willing to have that, the body will cancel it. I mean, truly, we can always offer healing, and, the higher self on some level will probably absorb a bit of it. But yeah, it'll absolutely be canceled. I usually won't work with a person unless that individual themselves is able to say, yes, I want this type of healing. And it's very difficult for people to have such a crazy sort of like manifestation because, they will be unable to express that. I've had some clients that booked with me and you could tell they had a real thing because they could not even come into the session. They were not even able to be in there. And so it's a very strange thing. It takes many different forms, but yeah.
You also do divination, right? Am I correct on that? Do you do tarot, things of that nature?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about that because I'm a tarot reader myself, and I've been studying tarot for a long, long time. It's I believe that every answer that you need to unlock your spiritual self and who you are, what you're here to do is in that arcana in the tarot. So I'm really curious as to how you blend that in with your practice.
Oh, Lord, thank you for mentioning that. First off, I totally agree with you. I believe it is one of the absolute most useful tools for self-discovery, for self-examination, for understanding just the simple motivations and the emotional states of people in the world. Even if you don't want to be a psychic reader, even if you don't want to, look at people's timelines, any of that, it is such an incredible tool. I would say that's actually the bulk of what I do. Most of the time when people encounter me, like we're doing a clearing session, but for me, a clearing session is really kind of a 3-part process. It's sort of like a therapy session, a psychic reading, and a little bit of a doctor visit all at the same time. And I use tarot as the primary diagnostic method when I'm looking at just what we call the timeline. And everyone has their own sort of pre-installed mental vocabulary of what that word means. But just for the record, it's kind of like our energetic momentum, the alignment in the moment. But I use tarot much more through the lens of what I call multidimensional tarot, which is, I believe I am creating a little bit of a complementary modality. I say complementary very carefully because I don't think anyone's going to reinvent tarot, nothing like that. But what we're doing is we're using it specifically to analyze and read the layers of the non-physical body, like the natal complex, the chakras, our meridians, the organs themselves. And it's incredibly helpful in my work to figure out where things are blocked, like what's really going on. And then we usually take that into part 3, which is, like the clearing session. But yeah, it's fascinating thing. I love that you're into tarot.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, I've actually had conversations with my tarot deck, because sometimes I'll notice that it's getting interfered with, and then I'll have to cleanse and consecrate it and then start over. That's kind of like stuff that I had to do in the beginning of this. And this happened kind of like recently. I realized that using the tarot was driving me crazy because essentially I knew that I had the answers in myself. So I was like, this is no longer becoming a tool. This is something that's I'm looking for answers for. Like, I should use this as a tool, not the other way around. Like, it was tooling me. You understand what I'm saying, so to speak?
Oh my God, totally.
So
yeah.
So I got into a little bit of study with Andy Cooper and some read some little bit deeper on books before I go to bed each night, especially here recently. And I'm like, all right, I got to get back and master this thing, because that's all it is a tool. And once I realized that there are so many, I don't care what you want to call them, voices, thoughts, elementals, spirits, whatever, that can get involved with what you're doing. But if you have to have the setting right, and then everything kind of started to flow so much better, and I was thinking, okay, this tarot goes back, I believe it goes back further than even what our history tells us. There's some really good books and historic people on that too, that I've talked to, Christine Payne Tyler and a bunch of other people. They believe this arcana of the tarot goes back at least to the Egyptian times.
Oh, totally. Even farther. I will add an additional layer. You've probably already heard this, so you're going to be like, obviously, or maybe you haven't. But a lot of people also believe that tarot originated on Venus, the planet Venus, in what was known as the third density cycle of Venus, in which they were existing there as physical beings. It's actually described in detail in the Law of One. And then it did eventually make its way over to Earth and was used, in, I guess, what we would call the Atlantean era, as well as the Egyptian era that followed, and, on and on after that. But at least that's my current understanding.
Yeah, because it's something that I slowly come to realize through study, that it's trying to balance out your the elements in your body, the elements in yourself, then your masculine and feminine energies, and then you come into like some people call your solar energy and so on. And then once you realize what the process of this is, and then the steps of the arcana, then you start seeing it in everything. Just like you do alchemy, you just start seeing it in everything.
Oh my God, yes. Thank you for saying that. That's kind of like the key to the tarot class that I do. And I'll just say it because you kind of opened the door, Joe. I have a tarot class starting on March 28th of this year. We're beginning the third cycle of our multidimensional tarot class. But no, like you do, you will literally begin to see the characters, the archetypes, the energies. And for those that practice multidimensional tarot, you will start to even notice the energetic, anatomical, what I call psychosocial elements of, like the tarot cards in your day-to-day life. You'll literally start hearing a person's voice, Joe, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that guy's totally in 5 of Swords right now. That guy's in the 8 of Wands, watch him go, or, something like that. You'll start to see it everywhere, right? It's a trip.
Well, yeah, because I didn't, we could go down this road, but that tree, it's based off too. Like if you read a lot of books, it's based off of the tree, the Sephra, and also the astrological forces and the elements. And people are like, well, what sign am I? What sign is this? Well, I'm this sign. I'm this, whatever. All of these forces are inside of everybody, and they're just kind of like, they might be in different forms, and everybody's complex, but these forces are inside of everybody. So a lot of the times when I'm acting a certain way, if I'm confused, I'll use tarot. But then I ask myself, I'm like, what part of me is, what force inside of me that's either on this tree or astrological, or what would the tarot say is that I'm doing right now, So it's all about learning to control all of these forces inside you, or at least identify them too, and realize just how powerful of a being you really are.
I couldn't agree more. In the realm that I operate in, the way I extrapolate your statement is through the energy centers in our body. And so we are at a stage right now collectively in the law of one, they call it the yellow ray activation, but here, like for most of us on the earth plane, is the activation of the solar plexus chakra. And what happens when the solar plexus chakra activates is we begin to perceive this thing that I call the frequency of truth. We begin to unpack the subtle ability that each and every person has in their own way to begin to understand, is this true? Is this not true? Is this my energy? Is this my neighbor's energy? You know what I mean? Is this my, mate's energy? Whatever it is,
right.
Is this something that we are in, like resonance with, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, solar plexus chakra. And I think for a lot of us, when we start working on the solar plexus chakra, that's when a lot of people start to be able to understand and internalize the concepts of tarot as well. At least that's what I've seen.
But wouldn't that make for a much more evolved society if everybody knew this stuff, right? Because even if two people go at it on the street and they were two evolved beings that understood the stuff, they would be like, hey, listen, man. They could say at the end of the day, like, I'm really sorry. I don't know what came over me. And the other person would be like, yeah, it's probably not you. I had this childhood trauma. I projected it onto you, and now you're feeling it back, and we're just mirroring each other. This is all coming from, like, Gabura and the forces of Mars and stuff, but I think we're healing it, and that's good. And you can shake hands and walk away instead of killing each other,
I love that. What's crazy is I've sort of had a couple talks like that through the past couple months, which came out of nowhere, but it was under like totally different circumstances. But like interesting, like when we actually have that moment. And I love hearing you talk about like the tree of life and I can't even say the word astrological stuff, because I will give a little bit of a vulnerable self-exposure here. I am the most non-astrological professional intuitive ever. I have never, ever asked a client what their birthday is. People come in and they're like, yeah, I got 7 planets and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, huh? What is that? So it has been so weird for me because I am 100% empathically tuned into the energy of the body. And what's wild is I will find the same exact themes and the same exact understandings. My wife herself does a lot of astrology, and it's like we come to the same understandings, but it's weird. I will say it's an interesting missing piece in my journey that I've been kind of making up as we, go along. But yeah, I'm entirely within what we would call the human energy systems, chakras.
The chakra system. Yeah. That like totally corresponds.
Not your complex. Yeah. All that stuff.
So you keep finding, so your wife's an astrologer and that's interesting. So you're doing chakra work and energetic work, things like that. And when you guys are seeing a lot of the same stuff too. The Eastern system corresponds with the Western system very well, I think, in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. I would say the key right now, and I don't know, maybe this is me going on a tangent, so you might have to pull me back, but I would say the key for those of us trying to understand the layers of energetic anatomy in the body and the manner in which they relate immediately to our well-being, to our health, and also our intuitive ability. The key right now, this is Mathew's opinion, it is in the meridian system. Within the 21 primary meridians in the body. There's so much going on right there right now. I believe it is kind of the framework for what I call the fourth density human, the next wavelength, the next channel of our consciousness. For my viewpoint, it's within the meridians. And so, yeah.
And you said that earlier, now the meridian system, that's Chinese medicine, right? Isn't that where that comes from?
I think so, probably. But here's what's crazy. I had heard at a conference I did a couple of years ago, there was some person that stood up and asked this question. And he was like, I've been studying, Chinese, like medicine for years. And, they don't even know where it came from. And actually, one of his teachers said, we think that probably some ET actually downloaded the information into us, that there had been, a lot of like tongue-in-cheek talk like that over certain people in the hierarchy over the years that, maybe that, some aliens actually like gave it to us. But yeah, who knows? Chinese, Eastern, I'm not sure. I didn't even know what they were until they were shown in my own kind of system. And I was like, whoa, what is this crazy stuff on my body? And they would only be there for a split second in the beginning. But I was like, whoa, there's something going on.
Now, when you say it showed up in your system, you could physically see the lines on your body?
For a literal split second. This was in 2016, and I think I was in what we would call the true Kundalini awakening stage. It was very bewildering. It was not fun. I literally thought I was insane. I was talking to animals. It was a very difficult time. But there were mornings when I would wake up, and as soon as I would come out of the state of sleep, it was like I could internally, visually see every single thread and strand and blood vessel in my body. And it was like as soon as I could put my attention on the fact that I could see it, my body got so much fear that it closed it instantly. And I was like, oh God, what is that? But it showed up, I would say, honestly, I think 3 times in my entire life did I have that. Honestly, maybe even 2. And I just thought about it a lot on the 3rd one. But I mean, it was absolutely shocking. Like it frightened me. And then later on, I started to realize just in looking around online, I had no formal education in energy systems whatsoever. And I was like, I just started Googling stuff and I was like, whoa, there's a gallbladder meridian. Oh, what? There's a heart. Oh, damn. I started to go down this crazy road. It was a trip, man. It was like I was finding them and then I would learn what they were. So who knows? Other people have had that experience. I know. So,
well, funny enough, too, the meridian system is Chinese. It's what they use for the acupuncture, right? But they have they have these lines because I'm looking at it now. That's based on their elemental system's a little different. Like they have wood, metal, fire, and all these different meridians on the body. But it's really funny, like how you were talking about how it corresponds with. I said that how Eastern and Western stuff correspond together. In the Western the esoteric systems, the planets, or especially the 7 traditional planets, have correspond to certain systems in the body as well. And I can almost guarantee you, I'm probably going to look this up later, but if you put those together, they probably line up. I bet you money, right? That astrological energy does line up with certain body systems.
Oh, absolutely. 100. Yeah, absolutely. I would say we are even coming to the stage right now in which people are going to be organically unpacking those understandings for themselves. And we're going to realize that in this strange way that we've been literally labeling the same things and kind of corresponding and networking the same systems, but they're all just under different names. It kind of just like, it's just all about where you started from, what like corner of the world, like you picked up the info, but they're all pretty much one and the same. So.
Now, in your description here, we talked about how you would talk about implant removal. Now that's a little woo-woo for some, but when you say implant, are we talking about physical anomalies in the body or metaphysical implants or both?
That's a very good question. I have encountered at this stage one client out of, I would say, honestly, over 1,200 people at this stage. And I have encountered one person who actually had a verifiable photo and an actual physical extraction point on their body and the actual video of it being extracted. And he showed it to us. We saw it. It's all over the internet, actually. But so that was a person who I did not have the experience of, doing some of what we would call like an implant removal with this person. I myself, it's a bizarre, we're just going to go there. I do have a physical device, I believe, some sort of a deactivated thing. It's in my right ear. A lot of people have these, people that had certain types of ET experiences. By my understanding, it is completely deactivated. It was something that I put a lot of attention on years ago. But what I also learned is that we have within our body no need at this stage to be physically implanted. Most of the physical implantation we encounter on the earth plane right now are being used by military groups, corporate institutions, what we call the, the powers that be, like whatever you want to call them. So there are layers of physical implantation, but I honestly really do not encounter that very often. A lot of people come to me saying, there's this implant in my head and I do not surgically take anything out. But the reality is, for most of us right now that are dealing with real implantation, there's no need to put anything in your body. Nobody has to. In fact, it's almost entirely frequency based. I would say almost, I would say very closely frequency based, but you don't have to put anything in the body. And what you actually can do is affect the person through the chakras, through the organs themselves. There's the phenomenon of etheric devices that is just kind of rising up on, like the earth plane. And you can imagine like a manifestation that is not an entity. It's not sentient. It's not consciousness. It's almost like an invisible antenna or an invisible kind of thing that will exist in your space that will have the same effects, cause all kinds of damage in your body. But most of them are non-physical. I would say we're going to understand in the future that almost all of the manifestations that we are encountering in the future are going to be non-physically based. They're going to source from some non-physical frequency emitted by the body. And yet, like I said, there's also a lot of physical stuff, but it's not necessarily my realm. I wish it was. It might be in the future,
Yeah, well, I think that I think there's going to be a lot of, maybe one of the reasons why that people are coming to learn their soul purpose now, and one of the reasons why you're here is to help them do that, is because maybe we're about to move into a future where the body is starting to move back towards spirit. Now that's something that, if you think about like what the Hopi have talked about and things like that, where once upon a time we were spiritual beings that evolved into physical beings, and that eventually the tides would shift at the meridian or the middle line, and that we would start moving back to spiritual beings. So I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I mean, we don't know how long the universe has been here and how long humans have been here. That's still a mystery, especially based on the work of like Robert Schoch and other people that have proven our history to be a little bit BS. So I think there's something to it. I definitely do. And I think that maybe you're here to help unlock our purposes and things like that. So as we move on and evolve, there seems to be some kind of plan here. Wouldn't you think? I think there is. Some people believe that there is just cycles and there is no plan. I do believe in a divine plan. What about you?
Oh yeah, there is totally a plan. There is also a completely unique plan to each of us when we come into this body, when we agree to come down here on earth. And yes, we agree. Some of us here, this is going to be crazy. And you probably already know this, Joe, but some of us have to go through an audition process and actually have to qualify to come to earth and begin the human life cycle process. By my understanding, Earth is essentially used for that purpose. It is a place where we go to experience that duality. But yes, there is totally a plan. And for those of us that are here right now on Earth, we get to experience one of the greatest transitions that has happened, the shift into fourth density. And that is literally the stage that all of the cultures all over the world are talking about right now, the shift into fourth density, which one of the hallmarks of such is the stage in which we begin to exist outside of the human body. We start to come to an understanding that, wow, our consciousness extends all the way outside of this human body, and we are totally in unison, all connected at the same time. And for a lot of us right now, that's why people are so much more interested in psychic stuff, in spirituality, and, learning things like the tarot. I mean, we are in what some people call this great Renaissance period of human consciousness where, yes, there is incredible upheaval, but in my opinion and experience, there's also an equal amount of magic that is available to everyone right now.
Yeah, we're definitely on the same page there, because I'm totally with you on that one. There are capabilities of that we haven't even begun to tap into yet. And we're just now starting to put it all together, especially people like yourself and others that are into spirituality and conscious exploration. And I want to get more into your story too, and some of your experiences as well. The phone lines are open. I got so into this conversation, I didn't even go over to the phones and look, but I will for the next segment for sure. 1-800-588-0335 if you want to speak to our guest, Mathew Mournian. All right, remember your soul mission. That's what we're here talking about tonight. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The truth is out there, and so are we. KTLK, Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Want to support Lighting the Void? Just go to lightingthevoid.com, sign up on our membership page, and pick your package where you can get exclusive content, readings, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Also, check out the LTV shop where you can get your very own altar box, t-shirt, shack, hoodie with sigil, Roswell-style t-shirt, racerback tees, socks, long-sleeve shirts, stickers, and beanies. Keep Lighting the Void airing 5 nights a week by going to lightingthevoid.com and support today.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Telepath is a weekly digital newsletter filled with the latest paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the Telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free Telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's paranormal.radio.
Lighting the Void and the Esoteric Scholar present the Altar Box, crafted and designed for magicians by magicians. Now you can take your practice with you. This beautifully handcrafted mobile altar opens and works as an altar for any of your spiritual, religious, or ritual practices. Made to travel and work in small spaces, the Altar Box comes with hidden compartments for your practice tools and accessories. The Altar Box also comes with a dark scrying mirror for scrying and reverses and fits perfectly also as a chalkboard for any sigil, symbol, or whatever you see fit to sketch. The Altar Box was handcrafted to carry as a small suitcase, so you may take your practice with you, and the hinges are made with solid material and hinged with leather and rivets for extra strength. The mirror piece and floor plate fit perfectly when closed, so no movement will happen. Use it in small places as well. You can practice meditation, magic, planetary magic, sigil magic, scrying, ritual. Never be without your practice tools again, no matter the setting or where you go. And this season, give the gift of magic for yourself or your loved one by grabbing your Altar Box. Was $249.99, now $199.99. The sale ends January 1st, 2021. Just go to lightingthevoid.com/altarbox and get yours while the sale lasts.
I don't know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been
Mathew Mournian, our guest tonight. Remember, this is shows for you here 5 nights a week at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time. The show is always live. Even the phone callers are unscreened. And speaking of which, that phone number, if you want to speak to our guest, is 1-800-588-0335. If you got a question for Mathew, have you ever had any energetic anomalies, any type of entities, voices, any negative experiences that you can't get over, or healing experiences, you could call in and speak to our guest while you got the chance. Or if you want to book a personal session with Mathew, you can go to his website, which is a really cool website, by the way, at Remember Your Mission. That's the website, rememberyourmission.com, and hook up with Mathew and get a session done. And I think that, man, I might do this myself because I'm really curious. Another thing too, I think, Mathew, is people, when they hear stuff like this, they think, well, Mathew is an advanced soul, and people get a little bit intimidated because they don't want to talk about what they believe to be their shortcomings. And what I always try to tell people when they say stuff like that is, we are all going through the great work, every one of us, so no one's shorter, lesser than, not good enough, any of that stuff. It doesn't matter. We are all in some type of healing or process. And yeah, so I just thought what your comments would be about that.
First off, I totally agree. I myself have just, I think for a lot of us to operate as healers or as intuitives on a, like a full-time basis, I came in with a whole bunch of trauma and all kinds of crazy, wild insanity in my own life. And I would say that, on some level, maybe that pre-qualifies some of us to become that non-judgmental placeholder for people later on in life, where, there's this sort of organic vibe that shows up in our sessions where it's sort of very much like this sort of free zone where whatever shows up. And it's kind of like this 3-part process. And honestly, it's about like one part, like a therapy session, one part psychic reading, one part a strange, like shamanic clearing and, like psychic doctor visit, and all kinds of stuff shows up. Usually within, about a couple moments of listening to a person's voice, I can tell on some level things about energy centers or, pathways that are blocked up. And I think after you work with people long enough, you are able to sort of create this opening, whether it be emotionally or socially. You can kind of just like make a vibe, and people that come in seeking true healing, it just opens this door, and everything that needs to show up shows up. And the reality is everyone right now on the earth plane has an ability in that area. Everyone will have a little bit of their own version of it. One of the clients that I worked with recently, I noticed they announced they are just starting to do a form of hypnosis healing. And I've had other people that are, stepping into their own stuff and like getting their own, like just healing things going. And everyone has a talent right now. Everyone has their own area. And so, I happen to work in this area, but honestly, one of the things I truly specialize in for those of the people that like show up in my classes and all this stuff that we do is really helping people figure out what is your ability, what is your frequency, what is your psychic ability, what's the thing that you can actually use. And what we find is for everybody, it's totally different. So, totally. Everyone can do this right now on some level. I hope that makes sense.
It does make sense. But I just, the deniability of this amazes me within the systems that, of society that we have. I had a gentleman on the program, his name is R. Thorzen, and he also worked in Eastern medicine, and he wrote a really cool book called The Northern Way of Initiation. And it was about the realms, revealed and their importance in developing the occult forces and abilities within yourself. And this guy has a whole different northern way of going into these realms, and some of the things he saw, because I was telling you earlier, where did I hear about these like lion beings and animal beings and stuff like that? And I remember it was from him, R. Thorzen. He also would work on animals and people, and said that he could literally feel and see cancer and things like that would move metaphysically from one body to the next. Like, so it would first be metaphysical and then turn into physical energy in forms of like cancer and stuff. And that all of like thousands of doctors that he's talked to throughout his study even admit that they know this, but they don't speak about it at like seminars and things that they go to because they don't want to ruin their career. And I think this is sad, man. It's sad because people are not, it's like they need the science behind it, but I'm hoping that we'll get past this. And I think the way we do it is by what you're doing, like just going out and healing people and working the work that you do, because eventually it's going to become undeniable, I think.
I certainly hope so. I think that what we're seeing with the sort of modern medical kind of realm right now, or even the spirit, well, not the spiritual realm, but within modern medicine right now, to me, it's very much like a two-sided, kind of like a pyramid. And there's this huge aspect missing, and that's the element of spirit. And, you know, like the elements of ancient practices and, you know, ancient, you know, earth-based and spiritual, you know, like medicines. I think that part of our age and part of the reason why I am here and, you know, a lot of other people is to break that system apart, to restructure it. Part of the madness we're seeing on the earth plane right now with this mind virus, and yes, it is literally a mind virus, is the sort of after effects of the complete separation from that spiritualized state, living entirely in the world of, you know, third, you know, like density, you know, just non-spiritualized, like medicine has us totally cut off from this whole other realm of, you know, like possibilities, you know, like solutions, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, my hope is we're going to join those together in this life cycle.
I don't think we have a choice. I think it's going to happen, and we can just fight it. Or whatever, you know, I kind of want to circle back to where we began when we first started talking. You mentioned that we talked about change and the forces of change, and you mentioned that during this time it was the greatest time to be alive, and people were just going through these radical changes in their life. I want to ask, just to reiterate, like, is this a common denominator that you find in even people that are trying to heal addictions and stuff? Like, it's always some kind of thing that is affected in their life that has to change massively, whether it's a career or a relationship or health. You know, health, when you get hit hard with something like that and you're forced to change. So I guess what I'm trying to ask you is it seems like we get these warnings sometimes that we need to change, and then you get these cycles where it's like dragging you through it whether you like it or not. Do you kind of believe that's going on? Because I do. It looks that way to me.
Absolutely. We are in a cycle of change on the earth plane that is undeniable. For some of us, depending on our predetermined soul's journey, depending on the choices that we make here on earth, depending on our just individual path, for some of us, the great transformation in this life cycle will be monumental. It will be something that we've worked for lifetime after lifetime. We'll come to this incredible state in which we will truly, and I know this is such a buzzword, guys, we will experience an ascension of sorts, a true transformation of consciousness. It can culminate in massive life changes, but for other people, there's a great variance. I would say that, you know, for most of the ensouled beings, the type of people that will find this show that are cognizantly aware of the changes that are happening on the earth plane, they will probably have a big upset. Most of my clients are going through some form of transition, or they left it behind, they've been through it, or they have, you know, they're helping other people with it. So I think it's standard issue for the earth experience. Those of us that incarnated right now, we came in knowing we were going to have the most maximum opportunity, what they call spiritual catalysts, opportunities to really create change. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but yes, yeah. I totally agree. And for everyone, it's an individual process. So
yeah, it does, man. It really does, because I think there's a lot of problems on the planet right now, and there are real practical solutions for these problems. But I feel like at the end of the day, the biggest solution for all problems on the earth is something very simple. It's simple conscious exploration. That's it. Like, in a practical way. In other words, explore consciousness, explore who you are, do things in a practical way. Don't be so afraid to try to have an out-of-body experience or whatever. Explore who you are, explore consciousness, wake up, become aware. Because once that stuff starts unlocking in you, then other solutions start happening around you, even to little bitty practical things or big practical things. But until that happens, then we're always in this victim mode or prison mentality or negative mentality. You know what I'm saying?
God, absolutely. And you kind of just, spark something in my memory. I want to state this publicly for the record. Well, first off, I totally agree with you, but, I do not believe on any level that Earth is a prison planet. We hear this all the time, right? Everyone's like, I'm trapped here on Earth, like this is a prison. We are not trapped here. We chose to come here. Coming to Earth, existing in a human body on the Earth plane right now is one of the greatest honors that can be granted a being in their incarnational cycles. I mean, it is truly, truly like that right now. And I know for some people, they're like, what? Are you serious? And, yes, that has been what has been shown to me. But here is, like the kicker. And I know I already turned a weird corner, but there's many other Earths and there's many other humans going through similar processes just like us in all sorts of other realms right now. We are surely not the only ones going through this. And so for me, at least for those of us that are trying to understand, how do I tap into that energy? How do I make use of this? How do I discover it in my own way? I think for me, it starts with self-healing and really understanding who we are, healing the inner child. And, also like you're saying, exploring our consciousness. Who are we truly? And so, yeah.
Yeah, I always thought reading, I go back to Robert Monroe's books. In his third book, he met beings that were in such an evolved society that the technology that was being used was basically nature and biogeometry, and that's about it. And then they also had bodies that they were so evolved that the body was actually just a transport machine for consciousness, but they were so evolved that they could leave their body under a tree asleep, and that they could just go explore whatever and come back to their body, and their bodies lived really long. And it almost sounded like the Garden of Eden in a way, right? Is what it sounded like. But yeah, I'm totally with you on that too. I think that that the evolved being is what this is all about. I lost my train of thought, but that's what I was thinking too. I was thinking about, didn't Robert Monroe say something about that? Because that's what he was, man. He never claimed to know the answers to anything. He just kept exploring and kept asking questions and then writing down what he experienced and what the patterns were. And just that alone caused him to have a massive, massive experience,
Oh, totally. I absolutely agree. It's really cool that we're talking about out-of-body experiences. Astral travel has been one of the most transformational aspects of my most recent journey. I mean, just in 2020 alone, it's just been an experience that has exploded in, my internal world, which, granted is a whole other conversation, but I think that right now we are living in the age in which everyone, if there is one thing that you have access to right now that I believe is accessible to everybody on the earth plane, is you have the ability to travel the multidimensional realms, even if it's still within your own contained little, bubble realm. You will still be moving through the multidimensional, the filters in your body. And with time, you will absolutely be able to move out. And, I believe that's what's going to allow us to redefine the concept of extraterrestrial contact. Because by my understanding and experience, that is where it happens. It is not them coming to pick you up in a ship. It is not them, showing up with on say the White House lawn, you know what I mean? It is through a multi-dimensional process. And so anyway, you can tell I'm going on a tangent here, but yeah, that is what I've seen at least. So
yeah, I know I'm with you. Like that, most of the UFO, the only real UFO I've ever witnessed, because that was done with proper research, was from UFO seekers I saw, and that I believed in. These guys, he witnessed these beings going in and out of these mountains, and he had to do it with still photography. And they were definitely some type of orb, I don't know if they were beings or not, but it looked conscious, right? And you study this stuff enough with the lights and how they appear and disappear. I mean, how do we know that these aren't? I'm just saying, I got this kind of weird intuitive feeling that these are just like Merkabas, people that know how to travel in their light bodies and stuff like that. They just kind of show up every now and then sometimes. That's what I'm
think
thinking.
that's actually what it is. I think what we will understand in the future is time travel itself is for most of us done through the light body, and in many cases, yes, that is a multi-dimensional being. But I also got to say it for everyone out there, there are also many actual physical craft, physical beings, it's all out there. But I would say, most of it at this stage, you guys, it is frequency based. It is outside of the body. It is your consciousness alone is all that is needed to travel the multi-dimensional realms. So
yeah,
at least how I see it.
Yeah, well, no, we see things similar here. Let's go to the phones here. 281 area code. You're on the air with Mathew Mournian. Who are we speaking with?
Hey, man, it's Gigi.
Hey, what's up, Gigi?
Hey, man. So I've got two completely unrelated questions, or the questions are unrelated. But so I was watching an interview with Robert Bigelow. I'm sure you guys know who that is, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, it was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and Joe was just drilling them about things like telekinesis and astral travel. And one thing that came up was automatic writing, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with as well.
Mm-hmm.
And poor Robert Bigelow, man, he just couldn't quite, Joe was like, what's the proof? What are some good examples of this actually being proved to be legitimate? In this case, they were specifically talking about automatic writing. And like I said, poor Bigelow, he just couldn't, that guy is chock full of examples with all of his research and studies that he did at Skinwalker for 20 years and everything else and what have you.
So are you asking Mathew if he knows anything about automatic writing or?
Well, I'm wondering whether it's automatic writing or astral travel. Is there any a really solid documented example of that being proven to work? I know there was that one guy, the one guy that the CIA was using, Swan or something.
Yeah, Ingo Swan. That was for remote viewing, though. Before Project Stargate.
Yeah. So anything along those lines? Can you name what's the best example to tell someone about anything like that actually being proven to work?
Well, that's a good question.
Oh my Lord, yes, that is a really good question. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a non-answer on that. I think trying to gauge or prove non-physical or spiritualized phenomenon through earth-based third density criteria is a lot like judging a fish for its ability to climb a tree. It will never be able to do it. It will never happen. And yet we're somehow seeking some type of third density physical confirmation of something that is essentially not third density, not physical, entirely existing within what we would call the realm of frequency, what some people call fourth density. And so for many of us, those are experiences that will be shared anecdotally through our experiences, through each person's own individualized, internalized kind of understanding of how these things manifest. And that is one of the great mysteries of our physical lifetime. And it's also one of the examples of what we call the separation state of us existing on Earth. This is the only physical realm in which we do not have immediate interactivity or the immediate awareness of interactivity with the non-physical realms. It's part of our mystery here as Earth beings that we get to unravel the reasons why we cannot actually physically prove that, why there's no one that's going to come through a portal with a photograph going, here's me with a, Arcturian being. It's not going to happen because part of our journey here is to come to our own internalized kind of version of what that is. And so granted, that's a total non-answer, but I think also if we do research, just, kind of go through a weird wormhole, you're going to find a number of experiencers, a number of people. I'm actually going to be at a conference in just a week or so where there's a whole group of people there that are, kind of unpacking and going through the understandings of those things on their own. And so I know that doesn't answer your question, but I will also say automatic writing and stuff like that. We are in the stage in which many people are going to start organically coming to their own sort of spiritualized experiences, and that's just one element of it. So anyway, I hope that makes sense.
Well, I can tell you too, I mean, it's really good anecdotal evidence for astral travel. Number one, I'm telling you for a fact it's real, and I don't know if Gigi knows me, so like I've watched myself sleeping. I got no reason to lie about it because lying's stupid. Number one, and it happened, and I was a total, total skeptic about it when I started studying this. And secondly, if you study all of the cases at the Monroe Institute, especially with all of the people that were there, like a physicist Thomas Campbell, people like Dean Radin, other folks that have been there, that where they actually did case studies of people that left their body and they went to go see the same things. They would even separate them and they would report back the same things. I don't know if you would call that 100% scientific, but it's pretty damn convincing, honestly.
I have had very similar experiences. Sorry to cut you off there, but I have had very similar experiences with other people where we were like, yes, we saw the same thing at the same time. We talked about it later. I mean, it's absolutely real. One of the things that stops people from being able to have those type of experiences, yes, there are valves in the body. One of the most common ones right now is the closed crown chakra. It is a thing. It will literally block people from being able to have those type of experiences. Strange.
Yeah. I wish, and thanks for your call, Gigi. I wish I could get to your second question, but I only just got like a few minutes here. But that was a really good question. That's why I got such a long answer. Host of Shift Happens, Gigi, just called in. That show comes on Friday night, 7 p.m. Pacific. Thanks, brother, for calling in.
I appreciate
the thing here too is like I am totally with you on the conscious exploration thing. I don't think it was meant to be scientifically explained. I think it was meant to be an individual awakening and an individual aha moment on purpose, right? I think that's kind of like the game a little bit, right? Because you can say, oh, I went out and I had this crazy thing happen. I saw these orbs, or I went out of body, or whatever. And no one's ever there's always going to be that doubt until another person actually experiences it themselves. And then the paradigm shifts.
Oh, absolutely. One of the main ways in which we will allow other people to have that experience created in our own lives and all those things is by talking about it, by talking about the weird, crazy stuff and those things that are like, man, that's so weird. You couldn't even make that up. You know what I mean? Like like the weird lion being, or, like whatever it is. I think that just by talking about it, we are actually allowing other people to begin to organically have those experiences. It's kind of like that 100th, the 100th monkey effect, where eventually it's like everyone just clicks into that next stage, and we're at the very start of it right now. So it's still very weird and very like, what? But yeah.
Well, we only got like a minute or two left here. So listen, I really want to thank you for coming on the program, Mathew. It's really cool to talk to you. I really feel like we're on the same kind of level and frequency here in a lot of ways, with what you're doing. But yeah, thanks for coming on. And if you can, like, tell everybody again, anything that you got coming up, and give out your links, please, because I'm really behind you in what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me on here. For those of you guys that want to experience or learn more about the work that I do, you can find me through my website, rememberyourmission.com. You can also find a lot of the workshops, a lot of the interviews, a lot of the group clearings, all sorts of stuff on YouTube at the School of Multidimensional Intuition. Kind of a long name, but you can find me on YouTube at the School of Multidimensional Intuition. We also have ongoing classes, ongoing training programs every single month. The next one is a tarot class starting on March 28th. It's the art of multidimensional tarot and energy reading, in which we're going to be looking at all of those systems and all this weird stuff. I also have a Patreon group known as the Blue Flame Collective, which meets every single month. You can find us on Patreon at, I believe it's the School of Multidimensional Intuition on Patreon, but the group is called Blue Flame I can't even say the word, Collective. And then finally, the very, very last thing is I will be appearing at a very important and amazing physical conference, one of the only ones that's happening in 2021, all about the very concepts and subjects and things we're talking about here. It is called Starseed Adventures, and it is in Cocoa Beach, Florida, March 11th through the 14th. There's live stream tickets. There's an incredible group of experiencers, secret space program people, psychics, healers. Is one of the only physical events. And so I hope people take advantage of it at starseedadventures.com. And
God bless Florida.
Yeah, I know, right? Totally. I can't wait to go there.
Well, thank you again for coming on. It was really good having you again back, Matt. It was really good having you back again, Mathew. Thank you.
Truly an honor, Joe. Thank you for noticing and thank you for asking. I truly honor the strange journey we all signed up for. So, yeah.
You guys go check out his website, rememberyoursoulmission.com. That's what we're here to do, actually. So it's a perfect name for a website. Remember, I keep saying soul mission, man. Rememberyourmission.com. Sorry. Rememberyourmission.com is the website. And I want to thank Pancho, our executive producer of the program, Stevie, and Chronox, also Rohan, for helping with the archives. You guys, thanks for your support. The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable's up next. You guys have a good night. Sweet dreams. I don't know why. It's like the second time I did that. Thanks, brother, for coming on again.
Thank you. It is truly an honor. Feel free to reach out.